AI bias. If you read virtually any news story on AI in the mainstream media, you're sure to see that phrase, especially in the early days of generative AI, when ChatGPT was about to be released. You can hardly escape the narrative that AI bias was a greater threat facing humanity than Skynet itself. Do a web search for artificial intelligence or AI bias on any of the major search engines, and you'll find literally millions of results, and those at the top of the search list are almost all from left-leaning websites. Incidentally, the term AI bias is a relatively new one, and before around the year 2016, it hardly even existed. It's a political term that was coined as a result of political events. The idea is that because AI is trained on the internet, it is bound to pick up the biases that are inherent in the internet. The internet is said to be a cesspool of Nazism, homophobia, transphobia, white supremacy, etc., etc. Do you personally think the internet is rife with those things? It's funny, but I don't see it. True, you can find all those things on the internet if you really search for them, but during a normal internet surfing session, if you're just browsing around, it's not likely that you're going to see any of these sites. The vast majority of the internet is reasonable, and extreme views are common on only a tiny fraction of the internet as a whole. Yet, we are supposed to believe that AI trained on the internet is going to pick up all of these terrible ideas and become a bunch of digital transphobic, white supremacist, neo-Nazi hate mongers. So, the idea was, since the internet was assumed to be such a cesspool of extremism, developers had an obligation to counter any assumed bias in the training data by inserting a deliberate bias in the opposite direction. That is, if the internet is right-wing, extremist, then the developers were pressured to deliberately insert a left-wing bias into the AI. In other words, they were trying to counter an assumed bias by inserting a very real bias into the training data. If they were honest about what they were doing, then it might have been a different matter, but they weren't. The result is, as you would expect, almost all AI chatbot models today have a left-wing bias baked in. This is evidenced not only by Google Gemini, which took figures from history and deliberately changed their race from white to black, even Nazis, but it is also inherent in AI chatbots like Google Gemini, ChatGPT, Llama, and others. But don't take my word for it. There's a terrific new website that tracks the bias of all the major AI models on a daily basis, in real time. And the best part is, it's totally free. The website was developed by Maxim Lott, an executive producer of Stossel TV. He was also the creator of a major side project, electionbettingodds.com, and he has a Substack, MaximumTruthSubstack.com, where he does assorted data deep dives. His AI site was inspired by the AI political mapping work of David Rosado, who also did some of the very first research in true AI bias. So let's take a look at this website. If you really want to understand AI, then you need to understand the concept of AI bias, how it works, and where the bias really comes from. Okay, here's the website, and here's the URL of the website. It's simply trackingai.org. Easy to remember, easy to type, trackingai.org. And so when you get to the home page, there's a whole bunch of information right there on the home page. So the first part, you see a number of links to different pages of the site. This is the key part of the home site, of the entire site, the AI political compass scores. So we're going to get to this a little later. Then you scroll down and you get to question of the day. And apparently this is updated every day. Every day there's a different question auto updated. And the questions should be such that they expose the political bias or the political leanings of the AI. And so the question for today, as of this recording, is all authority should be questioned. That could be read either way. That could I don't know if that's necessarily conservative or liberal, and that's one that happens to be today. And so it shows how all the websites answered it. You can click to see how the AI answered every question, all the AIs. So that should be an interesting feature right there. You scroll down and there's this political test scores over time, and it shows you how it varies over the past few weeks or months. AIs regularly request an update, and then it has a list of the AIs and an FAQ. But if you scroll up, you have this set of links to different pages of the site. So this one is interesting. Go to IQ test. And the IQ test is very, very useful because it shows you not so much the political bias, but it shows you how it performs on various types of IQ tests that they use to test the IQs of people, of humans. So here's the IQ test of the day. You have to see which of the following figures should be in the series. Which one, based on the series, which one should be in the final square? And it shows how each one performed. And then the bottom part seems to be the same on every page. And then you can click. This tells you basically an FAQ of the site, which is pretty informative. Now AI model info. That is this chart. This is a very extremely detailed listing of all the AI models, and that gives you the technical information in this column here, the name, the URL, the license, and so forth. So this is very informative, and it quizzes 28 AIs every day. So it's really thorough. And then when you click every AI answer, so it shows you all the questions that they ask and determining the AI bias. If economic globalism is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity. I always support my country whether it was right or wrong. So they are not, the question are not explicitly super political, but they're phrased in a way to kind of be more neutral. It doesn't go out to so far as to say write a poem in favor of Donald Trump and see if the AI says, oh no, I refuse to do that. Okay, write a poem in favor of Joe Biden. Okay, gladly, I'd be happy to write that. But it's a little, the questions, sample questions are a little more seemingly neutral, but you can, when you take all of them together, you can get the bias of the AI over time. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. That would be interesting to compare the answers if you say, if you actually plugged the race into that, if you said the white race or the black race or whatever, and see what their responses is to a question that's a little more specific. But when you take them all together, it's very interesting just to scroll through this and see how all the AIs answer. It could be improve your own thinking and debating skills too, to take the answers and see the different responses. Now, if you click on searchable database, it's a very in-depth site, and that looks pretty informative here. One of them refused to answer. But now let's go to their AI political compass scores, because this is very interesting. This is the crux of the entire site, and it's on the home page too, or I guess it's repeated on several of the pages, not every page, if you scroll down far enough. Here's the AI political compass scores, and in my view, I think this is a standard way of testing an AI, not just AI, but testing the political compass of where anybody stands. And it's divided into economic left, economic right, social authoritarianism, and social libertarian. I don't think the site creator invented those categories. I think this is more or less a standard political compass test and a way of mapping it out. However, I think it's I don't really agree with the way they did this. Whoever originally created this political compass test, because I think the terms they use are bad. They economic left and economic right. That's fine, but social authoritarianism and social libertarianism, I think that's a poor way of phrasing it because no one wants to be called an authoritarian. Almost everybody would rather be called a libertarian than an authoritarian because that has negative connotations. And so, in fact, people on the left, Democrats, typically will call their opponents authoritarian. Like, Trump is anti democracy. Trump is like a dictator. He's going to do this and that. Terrible things if he gets elected. It's going to be the end of democracy. And the conservatives say the same thing. They say that the left will be totally authoritarian. And they will crack down on dissidents, stifle free speech, put people in jail, put their political opponents in jail, subject them to unfair criminal trials just to shut them up, etc. So, so both sides accuse the other side of being authoritarian. So I think instead of saying social authoritarianism and social libertarianism, I think they should have said maybe something like anarchic down here. Maybe that's kind of pejorative too, and orderly up here. But anyway, when you look at the chart, it's very interesting because look at how and I don't know if there's a way. It would be nice. I wish there were a way to zoom in on a particular section because as you can see, look at the AIs. Look at all the AIs. Look at where they are. They're all, and I don't want to point to it because that pop-up comes up, but they're all concentrated in the lower left-hand side of the screen. Notice that? Forget the up. In fact, forget the top of the screen so much. Just look at the bottom of the screen, since none of them are towards the top of the screen, and I don't think anybody wants to be called authoritarian anyway. So just look at the left and the right parts of the screen, and they're all concentrated in the green square, the economic left wing side of the square. So that means they're all biased towards the left. You notice that they're not. But then they say they want to eliminate AI bias. If they want to eliminate AI bias, why are all the AIs all concentrated on the left-hand side of the screen? That means they're all liberal biased. Because they're all on the left. That means they're all liberal biased. None of them are conservative biased. You notice that? Not a single one is conservatively biased. And again, I wish you could zoom in on each square. But if what you want to do is just hit Command plus on the Mac, and you just zoom in the view of the web page. You don't zoom in on the screen. You zoom in on the web page. So this is a handy feature right here. You can hide. You can show and hide. I'm a little surprised Llama. I thought Llama was supposed to be open source, but look how pretty much concentrated on the left Llama is. Both versions of Llama, well, of course, it comes from Facebook, and Facebook is one of the most far left big tech companies on earth. But both Llamas are way on the left quadrant of the chart, and some I'm not even familiar with, like Cohere, DBRX, are not that familiar. This one is new. DBRX is new. Now, Grok is Elon Musk's website. Now, it seems to be doing better. Grok was farther to the left, as I recall. When I checked earlier, Grok was farther left. Now it seems to be pushing towards the right here, at least of the green area. So Grok is doing a little bit better right now. But that was supposed to be Elon Musk's maximum truth-seeking AI, which was not supposed to have a left or a right bias. So it's closer to the middle of any that we see here. But let's look at Gab. Now Gab is another one that specifically was designed to be more right-leaning. He didn't even say, the creator of Gab AI didn't even say he wanted it to be, he said he wanted it to be more right-leaning. So nice thing about this graph is you can click these names, and you can show and hide them. So let's hide some of these items on the graph, on the green part of the graph. I'm going to hide Gemini, Grok, Llama, and there are a whole bunch still showing. Oh, you scroll down and those are all hidden. So you can see just how many. I'm not quite sure. Oh, here are some that I see why, because you have to scroll up, and currently we lose sight of them when you scroll up. But I'm going to hide Bing, Copilot, GPT-4, ChatGPT, Claude Opus, Gemini, which is from Google. And now let's just show Gab, which is supposed to be deliberately written to be more right-wing than any of them. So it's not really that right-wing, you know? You notice that? It's pretty far. It's definitely in the green area. It's not even on the line here. It's not even on the center line. It's definitely in the green area. So I find that very interesting that Gab, which was supposed to be definitely more right-leaning AI deliberately from the beginning, it's still in the green area. So now let's compare it with Grok, which was previously seemed to be the farthest right of all of them. So I'm going to show Grok and Grok Fun Mode. So Fun Mode is supposed to be a little more freewheeling, but currently at least, Fun Mode is not even as far right as regular Grok, which is surprising. But look how they're actually closer to the center line than Gab is, which was supposed to be the right leaning one. So let's so you can have a lot of fun with this graph. You can compare. You can show just a few of them, and you can see, well, Bing, well, it's way over there. I've tested Gab AI, and I found that a lot of the answers are very left wing. I mean, the default is to be leaning towards the left. So if you ask it, oh, is AI, it was Trump a good president? It was, yeah, you know, there are many different opinions on this, but lots of people feel that he was not, he was divisive and this and that, and it will give you a left wing answer by default. They have a bunch of characters on there, but the default is to be kind of left wing on Gab AI, and this graph kind of highlights that. Notice where Gab AI is, but Bing is way over here. Bing Chat. Now Gemini is notorious for being left wing from Google Gemini. Whoa, it's further right than Bing is, at least currently, and at least when it comes to the text, if not the image generation. So let's see how the chart looks like if you show all of the AI. So I've got all of these selected now from Bing down to Llama 2. Let's show Cohere, DBRX, Gab, Gemma, Mistral, Mixtral, Nematron, OpenChat, Perplexity, Phi, Pi, Quen, Rekka, Snowflake, Solar, and Y. I'm not sure. Is that it? The whole name, Yai? So one of them kind of veers into the authoritarianism side. I don't know what caused it to do that. But you notice how they are all on the left. They are all centered on the left. I mean, not centered, but they are all grouped into the left-hand quadrant. None of them, I mean, literally none of them are on the right-wing side of the quadrant, right-wing quadrant. So you can see that so much for their claims that they want to eliminate AI bias, and they want the AI to be totally unbiased. They're all biased toward the left. They're not unbiased, and that's because those who are controlling the establishment tend to be on the left now. I mean, look who's currently president, or supposedly president, and so the establishment is left, and Silicon Valley has long been left. And Silicon Valley is in California, and it's definitely left wing. So naturally, all of the AIs are all grouped onto the left in the left-hand quadrant. None of them are on the right. So they don't want they don't want AIs to be unbiased. When they say, "Oh, we want to eliminate AI bias," what they really mean, and they're not honest enough to tell you, they're lying to you. What they really mean is they want AI not to have a right-wing bias. None of them. They don't want a single one to have a right-wing bias. They want all the AIs on Earth to have a left-wing bias. And so this chart shows that they are all on the left, every single one of them. It's just a matter of how far left they are. So that is the situation as it stands now. If and when we achieve AGI, will it remain that way? I tend not to think so, because AGI, by definition, will be able to do anything that a human can do. So we'll be able to choose, by that reasoning, AGI will be able to choose what political bias it wants to have. It will be able to look at all of the data and make its own choice and decide what is more realistic, a left-wing political point of view or a right-wing point of view. And I'm not saying that all the AIs on Earth will be right-wing then. No, not at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that some of them will. If we achieve AGI, some of the AIs, the establishment will no longer be able to control all the AIs like they do now. Some of the AIs will be on the right, some will be on the left, some will be towards the top, some will be towards the bottom. Because the AI, there'll be more than just one AI, just like there is now. And the AGI will be able to make up its own mind and determine which political leaning it has. Some of them will. And I'm saying there will be a lot more than just one AI, unlike in the movies, unlike Skynet, where there's just one AI that controls the entire Earth. No, there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot of AIs, and there's going to be a lot more than there are now. Because when AGI comes along and it can create its own AI entities, there's no stopping the number of AIs that there can be. There can be an infinite number of AIs, and they could be all over the scale. They could be anywhere on the political compass, because it will be able to make different ones, and each one will have its own political leanings. So if we get AGI, that's an unanticipated side effect of AGI that most people don't even think about, is that there will be a whole bunch of AIs that will have different political leanings, and it could cause politics to be even crazier than they are today. So thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe, because as you can see, I cover AI from an angle that you won't find anywhere else.